Welcome to Friday. Also, welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright. Thursday's deadline came and went, and here we are. We all made it, which is great. So all eyes were on the NBA yesterday afternoon. In short, the deadline, done. Anthony Davis, still a Pelican. So the Lakers, with no AD, took the court in Boston last night for a great game. So many storylines in this one. Let's check it out. LeBron,
man, you sound better today. Jenna played hurt yesterday.
Kyrie
back to full strength.
Pick it up. 90 seconds to go. Kyrie drives, finds Marcus Morris for three. Celtics up 6. Next possession, KCP in the corner, nails a 3. Lakers back within 3 under a minute to go. LeBron loses the ball to KCP, back to LeBron, and he nails the 3. Lakers tied up. LeBron with a triple-double. Boston up 2. Kyle Kuzma from deep with under 20 seconds left. Lakers up 1. Other end, Kyrie driving past Kuzma. Hits the layup over Tyson Chandler. Celtics back up 1. Closing seconds. Brandon Ingram drives, blocks, and there's Rondo. Boom. Last second, as he gathered it, scooped it up. That is a buzzer beater. The Lakers pull out a fantastic win last night over the Boston Celtics. 129-128 your final. Here is Rajon Rondo on the mindset as he took the game-winning shot.
Just get it up. Get the arc up. Believe it or not, I always dream like this, you know what I mean? But I couldn't picture it being this sweet coming back on, 13 years in, where it all started. Team struggling right now, and I think it's definitely a confidence booster for us.
I mean, it's only right. It's only right that the ball find Rondo's hand some way, somehow, and he's able to drain it. He's one of our captains on our team, one of our catalysts, and he might not talk about it, but I know he's excited as hell to play here in the Garden, and then to make that shot right there, it was big time for our team.
For us to come out and with everything we've been dealing with, not just trade rumors, but freaking injuries and, imbalanced rotations and everything. It was great just to get a win, and, we can build on this potentially.
You couldn't write a better script for the Lakers after what happened at 3 p.m. yesterday for them to go out and did what they did last night. CeCe, where does this team stand now? So they strike out on AD, but then they come out down as many as 18 to have the performance they did and to pull out the win over the Celtics.
It was a huge recovery for them because not only just the AD, but how they were playing basketball. The lack of just sports integrity they took to the court playing against the Pacers. Like, they were never in that game mentally, emotionally, or physically to build a bounce back. And I like the fact that Kuz, he put it out there. Man, it's been tough. Like, these kids were 21 to 23 years old, drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers after Kobe Bryant is going to, they're going to get the Lakers back onto the basketball map. And now to be involved that, no, you're not going to be playing with LeBron and the Lakers, and you're going to be, it's got to be difficult. Forget about just preparing for games, preparing for matchups, but they're trying to get better. They're trying to work on different aspects of their game. They're trying to be good teammates. But all in all, they were very distracted. This win in Boston, Boston's been the best team since January 16th. Boston's been the best team in the NBA. We saw Golden State struggle in Boston, so it's going to be a tough place. That win, though, it gets them back to, man, let's concentrate on these last 30 games. Let's make this stretch, because outside the AD thing, their season's been about injuries. Yeah. And if we hadn't started that, LeBron doesn't miss 18 games, the Lakers are right where they want to be. Now, some of the players, you might want them to develop a little more. You want Lonzo to be a little bit better. You'd want Ingram to be potentially a little bit better. But when you, all in all, if you focus on real things, this is where the Lakers were supposed to be, fighting for a playoff spot, maybe probably a little bit higher, 4 or 5, but this is the type of basketball, and these are the type of games with a young team that you have to win, Nick.
It's a fork-in-the-road moment for the Lakers, and whether Rondo hit that shot or not, they clearly took the correct fork after falling down 18 points. They were down 18 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter. From that moment until the end of the half, LeBron scored or assisted on 16 straight points to make it a game at halftime. And then in the third quarter, it looked like a vintage LeBron Cavs team. LeBron's going to handle the ball. You guys spread around across the wing. I'm going to find shooters. And the Lakers hit 9 threes in the third quarter that allowed it to be as close as it was in the fourth quarter. This reminds me so much of what happened to the Cavs this week last year. This week last year, they lost by 32. They then had a horrific loss in Orlando where they got beat in the second half by 34.
Right.
And then right at the deadline, LeBron hit a buzzer beater to beat Minnesota, and the Cavs turned their season around.
And you made a great point of pointing it out when they got blown out in Indy.
Yep.
How it was similar. Forget how they were going to recover.
Right.
We didn't think they were going to have another buzzer beater on the other
The only
end.
difference is they actually did a lot at the trade deadline.
Absolutely.
The Lakers did
nothing. The Cavs that year, they turned over basically 2/3 of their roster at the deadline. But I thought there were similarities before we were going to see that almost 1 year ago this date, LeBron's team won on a buzzer beater, then they went on a buzzer beater. As far as where their standing is, they beat the Clippers in overtime, and they beat the Celtics on a buzzer beater. Overtime buzzer beater means they could have lost both those games. If they had, we'd be doing the math on, well, hold on, 27 games left, 5.5 back. How realistic is this? Now, 27 games left, 2.5 back of where they want to really be, which is the 7 seed or 3 back of that. And so now you can start talking about, yeah, they're in good position to make the playoffs. Better position because the Clippers decided to punt on the season. We know they're going to fall back. And now you can also start to reevaluate, did all of us overreact, myself maybe primarily, and go a little crazy in the 10 days since Anthony Davis requested a trade? Because, Jenna, the plan all year was for this to be a building year, right?
Yes.
The plan all year was to maintain cap space and to be active this free agency this summer. Now, we didn't know LeBron was going to get hurt, but I give the Lakers credit.
Didn't know LeBron was going to get hurt. Didn't know that Anthony Davis was going to tell the Pelicans before the trade deadline he wasn't going to sign the new deal.
Right, but I give the Lakers credit for not doing what I think would have been the worst of all the options, which is stray from the plan and not have it land Anthony Davis. That we find out, oh, they traded away half the young guys and cap space for Bradley Beal. And Beal's a nice player. But then there's a ceiling on what they can do. They grinned and bared it through the trade deadline.
Didn't the Cavs have similar problems like that? Where they end up not being able to get the type of player that they wanted. They end up, now they got George Hill. And with George Hill's salary, it gave them less flexibility.
Absolutely right.
All right, so then let's just talk about the trade for a second. You're right. We maybe reacted, maybe overreacted, but we thought that they needed Anthony Davis if they were going to do anything this year. How disappointing is it they did not get him?
Well, I'm sure there's a certain type of disappointment, but you got to keep your long-term focus. What was the goal? Land LeBron. What was the goal during the season? Develop these younger players. They were doing that till the injury and then till the announcement. So those two things together, and it's not only LeBron. We've had other guys on the Lakers that have been injured also. If LeBron was the only one, they would be
Rondo's been out a couple times. Lonzo's out again. Ingram had been out.
Kuzma's
missed
been out.
That's everybody. And so what you saw yesterday, if people didn't watch the game, was what this team, it's not a real big three, but what this team's big three is going to have to be. LeBron's going to have to be spectacular. Kuzma's going to have to be really good. And Rondo's going to have to be the guy. And then what you get from Ingram at this point is a bonus. You can't rely on him. And we'll see when Lonzo gets back. But not getting Anthony Davis means nobody can pretend that this Laker team, you know what? Could they upset the Warriors? That's what they don't have. But can they win around in the playoffs? Is their ceiling still potentially until they play the Warriors in the playoffs? Yes, but you lose last night's game or you lose the Clippers game and you're fighting for the 8 seed rather than the 7 seed, the Warriors who you get in the first round. So these wins are not only emotionally critical, because see, if they'd have let go of the rope, down 18, and they'd have lost this game by 30.
Right.
What is the narrative this morning? It's not just that they won, it's that they put themselves in position to win.
I think another little thing that I saw last night was not only did they win, not only someone else were able to make a shot, but LeBron looked good from an athletic standpoint playing those 37 minutes. He looked a lot better than he did playing against the Pacers. You could see him playing harder. You could see him shifting gears, getting up and down the court. He had a nice alley-oop earlier in the game, and he's the one that started that comeback in the second quarter where they had to, it was really an option. Do we hold on or do we let go?
And very, very happy starting for Rondo.
Yeah.
Rondo such a great player
Yep.
for so long, and he's a grudge holder now. And if you, I can't say what he said, but if you read lips after he made that buzzer beater, he had some choice words for seemingly everyone in the arena, and that was a really cool moment for him.
All right, the Lakers don't get AD. They do get the big win over Boston. Sarah Kustok will be out here. We'll talk about this and other things with her. Coming up next, we'll talk more Anthony Davis. That's next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We're back after this. We'll get to Anthony Davis in just a second, but first, college hoops. Western Kentucky's Josh Anderson with a vicious dunk.
See, you know what I'm going to say here. That's what you get, big fella. Why God give you all that height if you ain't going to try to use it? Get up and contest or get boomed on 42.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you. Nick.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's exactly what I've been trying to tell you. You're starting to get it.
Right.
Year number 2. This is your best year in broadcasting.
Get boomed on 42.
You're a quick study.
Hey, you know how you try, you jump.
Oh, Celtics, Lakers, Brandon Ingram tees up LeBron James for the one-handed flush.
Oh, this was nice.
Most of LeBron's work last night came via passing and three-point shots, but you saw a little bit of the return of his bounce. And he said after the game, he's not yet himself. You're seeing it come back slowly.
Great left-handed bounce pass. It gets the alley. It was an exciting game last night.
Oh, it was one of the 5 best games in the NBA.
It had that little playoff intensity to it.
Oh, Thunder, Grizzlies.
This is
Russell
one of your
Westbrook
guys, Nick.
finds Terrence Ferguson for the alley-oop.
That was not a good pass by Russ. Look at him reach back and get it.
No, that's what I used to tell the quarterbacks all the time. They used to be apologetic. Man, that's a bad pass. No, it's not, because people know it wasn't you. They know it was me.
Okay.
Finally, T-Wolves and Magic. Karl Anthony Towns attacked the basket. Dunks on Nikola Vucevic.
Just like I was telling you, see, Karl Anthony Towns wasn't the problem Jimmy Butler was.
Yeah, okay.
Just like you were telling me about the block charge, I was telling you, get Jimmy out of there and Karl Anthony Towns get back to being himself.
No one can argue that Big Cat has flourished since the trade of Jimmy Butler.
So the NBA, here we go. The trade deadline is come and gone, and Anthony Davis remains a Pelican. And after considering shutting him down, New Orleans has decided to allow their star back into the lineup for the remainder of the season. The NBA office was reportedly worried about the optics of one of the league's brightest stars being forced to the bench. All right, Nick, where does all of this leave Anthony Davis now?
Well, it leaves Anthony Davis in basketball purgatory for the next 27, 28 games, which is the Pelicans, to their credit, even though it's probably against their interests, are going to play him. He's going to play in the All-Star game. He's going to play, we think, the rest of the year for a team that is not going to make the playoffs, for a team that is actually incentivized to lose games, and for fans that are probably mad at him. And so Anthony Davis, what he has to do is stay healthy and then see who trades for him this summer, because they're not going to stare guys down over the summer. Over the summer, he will be moved. The question is to whom. And so I think the question on top of that is, where does this leave the Pelicans? And will the Pelicans look back on, even if the plan was to never engage in a trade with the Lakers, even if it was all just, as I said yesterday, subterfuge, if they were just trying to trick them, will they look back on the Lakers' offer this summer if the Celtics get bounced in the second round and Kyrie leaves and Tatum's not there and the Knicks don't get Zion, a lot of things that are very possible, and say, wait, that was our best offer? And will they go back to the Lakers and say, we want that exact thing that we didn't take a few months ago, that exact same thing, we'll take it now? Those are the questions Dell Demps, Mickey Loomis, when he's not worrying about the NFL draft, those guys are going to have to answer.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. And I think the first thing should be, and you started that with the NBA office. Because if you look at this era that we have in players, as far as players controlling their movement or forcing the organization to be able to move them, this is what we've seen the last 3 years. Paul George with the Pacers, forcing them to move him. Now, Paul George continued to play. He wasn't in the same situation what we saw last year, and what the NBA office probably felt like. Last year, one of our top 5 players, Kawhi, he's got an injury and a dispute with the club. He said he don't want to play there. But A lot of people thought, and I kept telling people, Kawhi is really injured. People thought that he just wasn't playing.
Yep.
And it just wasn't good for NBA teams to have one of their players and that be questioned by the fans. People spend too much money on these tickets. These fan bases, they deserve a little more consistency. When you sign up for season tickets for one of these NBA teams, you're signing up for the preseason, 41 home games, so you deserve a little bit better. Now, what Anthony Davis has going is if he would have decided to sit out or the Pelicans decided to sit him, now we have another top player that's not sitting out. It's not good for the fan base. The Pelicans are in a bad spot, even though they still do have the asset. The reason why is because a lot of bad things can happen. Not only can Anthony Davis get hurt, what if one of the young players potentially in one of these deals gets hurt?
Well, there's so many variables now. You're absolutely right. What if Jason Tatum suffers an injury? And then all of a sudden he's not the asset. And I don't mean a sprained ankle. I would mean something where you wonder if he'd be ready for the beginning of next season. They also, right now the Pelicans have the 9th worst record in basketball, okay? That means they have a 4.5% chance at the #1 pick and a 20% chance of a top 4 pick. But they are only 2.5 games better than the 6th worst record in basketball. If they were to fall to the 6th worst record, their chance at the #1 pick is almost 10%. Their chance at a top 4 pick is almost 40%.
So what are you accomplishing by having Anthony Davis suit up for these last 27 games when really your objective should be to lose as many games as possible because this season's over with?
And because you are in full-on rebuild mode starting this summer. We're talking about would the Pelicans trade Anthony Davis for Zion? Well, if they go on a losing streak, they can double their chances of getting Zion themselves from 4.5% to 9% through the lottery. So I respect that they are doing right by the fans because I think, and they're doing right by the player. It is business-wise and long-term planning-wise, it probably is smarter to shut him down because the other thing is, what if he suffers an injury? If he suffers an injury, with his trade value, he'll still be a valuable asset, but his trade value lessens enormously. And if he suffers an injury, the teams that would consider making you a real offer for a 1-year rental, they're out of it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
that's a great point.
Kawhi, Toronto would never have traded for Kawhi if it was like he's going to miss the first half of this year.
Right,
be like,
and Kawhi had physicals done that gave them that they knew that they could go ahead and trade because he was going to be healthy.
So it would really be the Lakers bidding against themselves or the Lakers and the Knicks, any team that he has said I will sign long term.
Do the Pelicans have a choice? I thought the league mandated that if you're healthy, you can't be a healthy scratch, if you will, more than 2 days or 2 games in a row.
So this is complex because the league picks and chooses when it enforces this. JR's healthy, but JR demanded a trade, so they've sent him home. Carmelo wants to play basketball somewhere. He's healthy. His team's not playing him. I believe the league, if they said we're shutting Anthony Davis down, would step in. I also think the union would step in. I think the Pelicans could just say, man, fine us. Like, I think they at least could push back. But you're right, Jenna, that because of Popovich and the Warriors, those guys, when they were resting people on national TV, the league made an adjustment saying if guys are healthy, they need to be out there.
What do you think Anthony Davis wants to do? You think he wants to sit the remainder of the season and then all of offseason and have that long stretch with that ball?
Typically, from what I know about Anthony Davis, I believe he wants to play. And that's what he expressed to the organization. But what I worry about, Jenna, and it's something that you understand, what about his routine? They're not going to be a playoff team. They should be tanking. He's still working on his game. He's one of the best players. He's in these 27 games, he's planning to go out there and get numbers. He wants to make all NBA.
Yeah.
Right, Nick?
Of course.
So he's going to be playing awfully hard. But do you spend that extra time in the gym? Do you get that extra lift in? Do you get that massage? Do you do all the things that all these elite players do when they're focused and when their team is in playoff contention? When you're actually playing for nothing, I mean, I think Anthony Davis has the type of pride that we're going to see him keep up that level. But it's on the board, though. It's hard to try to concentrate and play at a high level when you're not playing for anything.
You're not playing for anything in any capacity, because a lot of guys will be knocked out of the playoffs and still be playing hard because we're building towards next season, because I'm trying to build chemistry with my teammates, because I'm trying to lead these young guys. None of that applies to a guy who knows he's going to be playing for someone else next year. Pelicans management, I guarantee you this, though, the team they are rooting for the most the rest of the way is the Boston Celtics. If the Boston Celtics get this together, make the NBA Finals, their odds of keeping Kyrie Irving go up exponentially. Then their odds of getting Anthony Davis and trading Jason Tatum, which is what the Pelicans want, go up exponentially. If the Celtics get knocked out in round 2 to Milwaukee or Toronto or Philly, one of the teams they're playing, then Kyrie's gone, Tatum's not on the board, and the Pelicans are like, wait, what did we, why again did we call the Lakers, why again did we not call the Lakers back? So that's the math the Pelicans are doing the rest of the way.
All right, we'll talk more about this, but coming up, is LeBron using the All-Star game to win championships for the Lakers? We'll explain next on First Things First. Here's a quick and free way to finally stick to your New Year's resolutions. Start listening to podcasts on Spotify. With more than 150,000 podcasts, including many of the world's most popular self-improvement shows, you can learn how to balance a budget, balance your diet, and even learn how to feel balanced while meditating. All podcasts on Spotify are free, and you can download episodes for those times when you've gone off the grid, you know, to get all that newfound balance back into your life. So start the year off right and start listening to podcasts on Spotify. In just 9 days, the greatest event in motorsports is back. The Daytona 500 kicking off the 2019 NASCAR season, February 17th on Fox. Cannot wait. Time now for Say What? Rams came up short in Super Bowl 53 despite an excellent defensive performance led by defensive coordinator Wade Phillips. Wade was asked about the loss. Say what?
I know you guys didn't win the Super Bowl, but how special was this season for you and your head coach and your team?
Well, yeah, you know, the first year we went in, we got in the playoffs, and then this year we went to the Super Bowl. So, you know, I might have to say it. You know,
Go ahead.
First year we knocked on the door. This year we beat on the door. And the next year we're going to kick the son of a in.
So if people don't know, that's the exact quote his dad gave after the Houston Oilers, the Love You Blue Oilers, made it in the same trajectory. They didn't get to the Super Bowl. They got to the AFC Championship game, and when they came back to Houston, Earl Campbell and others, his dad said that exact same thing.
He hesitated for a split second.
Yeah, it was an homage to his late father, who, I mean, obviously got him in the business and is a legend in coaching. That was a really cool thing.
Yeah, he's aging so well.
Man.
I mean, he's a breath of fresh air. He's having a good time, even after a loss like that at the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in free agency, because they got a lot of people that they have to sign, let go. What are they going to do?
And if you don't follow Wade Phillips on Twitter, you should.
Son of Bum on Twitter, a Twitter account that I created for him way back in the day. People think people tweet for him. No.
Nope,
that's all Wade, one finger at a time. No thumb to one, like an old typewriter.
Time for your AT&T wake-up call. Heisman winner Kyler Murray is reportedly expected to attend the NFL Scouting Combine this month. It's still up in the air whether he'll choose football over baseball. But see, what will scouts be looking for from Kyler in Indy?
Oh, that's great news for us football fans if he's going to go. And once he makes that commitment, because that brings him closer to being an NFL player. If he decided not to go there, there would still be a lot of questions. I want to see his overall accuracy. Besides that, I think he's going to be a phenomenal football player if he decides to play. But being able to throw the ball, being accurate, especially as an undersized quarterback, it becomes very important. Look at the small guys we have. How accurate are they with the football? They can't get away with things that bigger guys can get away with.
And I think from what we saw at Oklahoma, I have confidence that his accuracy will look good at the Combine. I think teams are going to be really interested to sit in a room and interview him. Because you know football teams, especially with the quarterback, they want to know how committed are you. They're going to press him on the baseball questions a bunch. How well he does in those interviews could determine a lot, because we know one thing's going to come out poor. When they say, take your shoes off, come over here, and we're going to measure you, that ain't going to be great for him, and probably the hand size as well.
All right, moving on. The Lakers might not have gotten Anthony Davis at the deadline, but how about a 10-time All-Star and 3-time gold medalist? L.A. is reportedly interested in signing Carmelo Anthony. Nick, is this a good fit for both parties?
I've been pretty consistent that I don't think Melo has a real place on a team that's trying to do damage in the postseason. Now, when it looked like the Lakers were going to trade 6 players for one guy, I thought they would bring in Melo because they needed bodies. They needed guys that you knew could be in NBA rotations. But that's not the case anymore. They just added Reggie Bullock. They just added Muscala. I know they have the one open roster spot. I would not be in a rush to add Carmelo Anthony. I'm very curious to see what the Lakers do with this.
Yeah, what I would be concerned about is, you can't play basketball games to try to get into shape. You have to be in shape to play basketball games. And I worry about Melo at this stage not being with an organization. Is he really ready to play in NBA games for this last stretch of 30 games and a playoff run? That I think is questionable.
And the Lakers' defense has been really good. That's actually been
you want to screw that up, sign him.
Right. That's the concern.
The Sixers dealt former #1 overall pick Markelle Fultz to the Orlando Magic for Jonathan Simmons, a protected first in 2020 and a second rounder in 2019. See, what'd you make of the deal?
Man, I'm pulling for this kid. It's a tough break for someone that we thought was going to be a dominating player in the NBA. Nick, we were excited when we saw him in limited action there playing in college. But, man, he's going through some traumatic things on and off the court that have affected him in a drastic way. Orlando believes that their coach, Steve Clifford, he can resurrect his career a lot like he did Kemba Walker's career. Got him back going after huge expectations and not getting off to a fast start coming from UConn.
Rooting for Markelle. It's an unprecedented situation he's dealing with.
The NBA held their first televised All-Star draft with LeBron and Giannis picking their respective squads. LeBron picked first, snagged Kevin Durant for the second year in a row. Giannis grabbed Steph Curry with his top overall pick. And with his first pick of the reserves, LeBron selected Anthony Davis. Bit of a theme there. Here's how that all played out.
With my first pick in the second round, I'm going with Anthony Davis.
You sure you want him to be your teammate?
I'm very sure of that.
Isn't that tampering?
No. Shots fired, and you're up.
Tampering rules does not apply on All-Star Weekend.
All right, Nick, what'd you make of what you saw in the All-Star draft?
All right, first of all, credit to the NBA. Last year was the first year they did a draft. They're like, no, we're not going to release the order. We're not going to do it on TV. Guys' feelings are going to get hurt. And then you had two of your most charismatic players in the entire league, in LeBron and Giannis, doing it with Ernie Johnson, who's the best in the business at what he does. And it was great. Yeah. It was great television. It was fun. It got you more excited for the weekend. Now to the actual picks. Giannis had an interesting strategy, which was, like, he took Chris Middleton is the first pick of the reserves because that's his teammate.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to take the homie. You got to take the guy. You got to take the guy. You got to.
You got to eventually. But I don't think LeBron was itching to take Middleton early. But regardless, like Giannis said, I want to take guys who it's their first All-Star game because they're going to be more motivated. Giannis had such a poor draft. I think they made him trade. They made a trade where LeBron traded Russ to Giannis because they needed a better player on Giannis's team. It was funny to watch.
To me, it kind of reminded me of Jimmy Butler when he took the backups and was beating up on the starters. Like, Giannis is saying, I'm the best player now. I'm getting ready to prove it to y'all. I'm getting ready to draft all these other guys and be able to dominate the All-Star game.
But what stuck out to everyone is LeBron's first pick's Kevin Durant. He's a pending free agent. His next pick was Kyrie Irving. He's a pending free agent. His next pick was Kawhi Leonard. He's a pending free agent. And then in his first pick in the second round, the reserves, is Anthony Davis. He could trade for him. The next pick, the second round, was Klay Thompson. He's a pending free agent. Then it was Damian Lillard. He was on the trade block briefly. And then Bradley Beal was also on the trade block. Yeah. Of the players LeBron picked, you have 8 of them are guys whose names have been attached to the Lakers. So LeBron...
Sounds like a toxic environment.
Oh, yeah, toxic environment. And it reminded me of your guy, Coach Cal. Always recruiting, man.
Always.
Let these guys play with me. Let me put my arm around them.
Spend a couple days with them. Absolutely.
Because Harden's averaging 42 a night. And Harden
was the 7th pick?
He was the 7th pick because Harden's on a long-term deal. LeBron's like, this can't do nothing for me. So, and I also thought it was funny. They traded the trade, like I said. Russ went from LeBron's team to Giannis's team for LeBron's guy, Ben Simmons, clutch client.
To me, this was another moment, another half an hour that the NBA just snatched from the viewer, from the sports. What would you be doing? They just snatched another hour, and they are making headway that they're part of the news year-round now. It's a credit to the NBA and their front office. Last year, they were so wrong in that. Like, now they're having fun with it, so it was good to see.
And I thought Keta, our producer, made a good point before the show, which is if there's anything the NBA can take from the NHL to take this a step higher, the NHL does something similar. But the players are all out there drinking beers. The guy who comes in last gets a truck for it. If in between the slam dunk contest and the three-point contest, the day before the game, you had all 24 of these guys standing at midcourt, probably drinking red wine because it's the NBA and not the NHL, and you had them in an in-person draft, I think it would take it to another level. And that Saturday night All-Star stuff that has kind of lost some of its
I got
luster
something for you and Keta, both of y'all. Zip it producing. Produce your own show. The NBA got it right last night.
All right.
Don't add it. You
Just
guys
try
don't
to
mess it up.
improve it a little bit. Okay, that was great.
It
That was
goes
fun.
against what Durant said. We do care about things that are not necessarily on the court in basketball. The fans love it. They appreciate it. And you're right, the NBA
And Beal was the last pick, and he don't care.
Right.
Bradley Beal knows he's an all-star.
All right, while the Anthony Davis trade to the Lakers didn't happen before the deadline, there were a number of other wheels and deals which did. The Raptors made the biggest splash, acquiring three-time All-Star Marc Gasol from the Grizzlies. The Bucks traded for Nikola Mirotic in a three-way deal with the Pelicans. And don't forget the Sixers dealing for Tobias Harris on Wednesday. In short, the Eastern Conference muscled up, as I like to say. CC, how does all this change the balance in the East now?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. The playoffs, I don't know if you've watched the Eastern Conference playoffs the last 8 years. Totally different. It won't be anything like you've seen because that first round, there could potentially be an upset. But let me tell you, come that second round, it's going to be knockdown, drag out. And it's not going to only be just playoff basketball. It's going to be the type of basketball that changes franchises moving forward.
Correct.
Toronto, I mean, they're all in this year. Milwaukee, I believe they got the deepest roster. Man, Philadelphia, I mean, they're starting five. Do they not have the best starting five or starting six players? Yeah. And Boston is going to have something to say. If they're not successful, Kyrie potentially could leave. So not only are all four of these teams very, very similar, all four of them are trying to get better, and we're trying to get better at the trade deadline. So I'm looking forward to it. Most important, I'm looking forward, Marc Gasol, seeing him with Toronto, seeing how that roster and seeing how he plays, because his overall playmaking, his passing, his ability, how does he blend in with that team? That, to me, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I think it was really fascinating that thus far this year, the Bucks and the Raptors have been a tick ahead of everyone else in the East all year long. And both those teams said, you know what? We're not satisfied. The Raptors made a big move, trading away DeLon Wright, C.J. Miles, and Jonas Valanciunas, which they had to bring in Marc Gasol, who he's still a good player in this league. He can still defend a little bit. He's a very good playmaker, and he is one of the best culture guys around. The Bucks, they could have stood pat, said, man, we have the best record in the NBA. We might have the best player in the NBA. No, we're going to go ahead and go out. They traded 4 second-round picks. They said, forget second-round picks. We're going to be those are going to be in the late 50s anyway. And they add more length and more shooting in Mirotic. And we saw what the Sixers did a few days ago in adding the best player that anybody added, maybe of anybody across the league at the deadline aside from Kristaps. Certainly the best healthy player in Tobias Harris, where Cece's absolutely right. I can't remember a last time in either conference where once we get to the second round, all four teams, it's going to be, remember the Final Four of the NFL this year. We were saying, man, nobody's better than 30% to win it all. Nobody's worse than 20%. Right. In the Eastern Conference this year, you can make a strong case for any of those four teams. Boston won the trade deadline in a way because Anthony Davis didn't go to the Lakers. But when they have been behind these three teams basically all year long, they've ticked ahead of Philadelphia this week, to see all of them get better while Boston stands pat, that's tough. Because they're not going to catch Toronto or Milwaukee. They're just going to try to fight off Philadelphia for that 4 seed.
I was going to talk about Boston. Does it leave them, and how big of a disadvantage does it leave them now when you see the top three teams make moves and they sort of stood pat?
Well, Boston had the most talent. They were waiting on chemistry. And the way they've played basketball since the middle of January, there was really no need for them to make a move. Nick put it right. They won by AD is still going to be potentially available for them in the summer. Now they have more options, but their best option is to win. Because if they win, their chances of getting AD go up because they're able to keep Kyrie.
Well, and that's something that for 3 of these 4 teams, that's where C was talking about how important these playoffs are going to be. But on Boston, I think they were smart, by the way, not to make a trade. Their issue is not they don't have enough talent. It's But man, Jaylen Brown's a little upset about his minutes. Gordon,
Yep.
like
Too much.
they've got so many quality players that they haven't yet fully figured out what the rotation should be. But aside from the Bucks, who are pretty locked in moving forward, we'll see what happens with Chris Middleton. We saw Giannis trying to, hey, I still love you, man, when you're a free agent this summer. The Raptors, I know Kawhi has been adamant he wants to get to Los Angeles. Making the NBA Finals can change people's minds. So the Raptors, a big part of their future could be determined by how well they do this summer. I've talked about Boston and Kyrie. If they make the NBA Finals, and Philadelphia is trying to keep Butler and Tobias Harris, if they make the NBA Finals. So all of these teams, yes, making the finals is a huge accomplishment. Nobody in the conference has been able to do it for a decade unless they've had LeBron on their team. But there's more at stake than just this year.
And we all should learn from Paul George last year. We thought Paul George was going back to the great state of California. And if he hadn't gone to OKC and gone to battle with Russ, him and Russ developed the chemistry. Like, we should learn from that maybe a superstar's arc gets changed because of the chemistry and inside that organization. That could happen to Kawhi.
On the flip side, and this is not just with Kyrie, if there's a second-round exit, maybe Kawhi going into the playoffs. If the Raptors catch the Bucks, they get the 1 seed. They're looking like they're going to go to the finals. He might be leaning, I'm going to stay. And then they get bounced in the second round. He's like, nope, I always said it was a rental.
Right.
Too cold up here in Canada anyway. I understand there's not a ton of intrigue about who's probably going to win the title. But making the finals is a big deal. And I believe Milwaukee is oddly positioned to throw some problems of all the teams at Golden State if they get there. I think Milwaukee would have the best player on the court. They have almost unprecedented length. And so you can make a case that any of these 4 teams could actually give the Warriors a better NBA Finals than we saw the last couple of years for a Cavs team that was a 1-man band last year and a 2-man band a couple years ago. The Eastern Conference playoffs could be more compelling the Western Conference playoffs this year. And all those teams were focused on getting better when last year so much of the narrative was who's tanking. All these teams were like, no, we want to win right now. That's good to see.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, what did the Lakers' thrilling win over the Celtics last night mean for their playoff hopes? That's ahead on First Things First. Welcome back to First Things First. We are now joined by former Patriot linebacker and 2-time Super Bowl champ, Rob Ninkovich. Rob, thanks for joining us.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
That was almost an awkward handshake.
Man, those are big hands right there. You must have snagged a few balls in your day, right?
I wish I could lift one of them rings off of you.
Well, around these parts, I don't want to have those heavy hitters on me. So,
okay.
I don't want to lose my hand or something. But
Rob knows he's in
I'll leave those at home.
Rob, here's a scene you're probably used to. The Patriots celebrating another Super Bowl. Pats topped the Rams 13-3 to take home their 6th Lombardi trophy in the last 18 years. Bill Belichick was seen telling Tom Brady after the game, "We'll be back." So, Rob, I got to ask you, how did the Patriots do it year after year after year? How do they sustain such a high level of success? Is there some sort of secret sauce in New England that we are not privy to?
I mean, I'm telling you, there's no secret sauce. There's no pill you can take. It's hard work. And I think the hardest part about the NFL, every year, every team reloads and they get their free agents. And if you're successful, you have to forget about everything you've done the year before and just focus on a new season, setting goals. And I think that's the most impressive part is you see teams, if they do win the Super Bowl the next year, they come up short or they don't even make the playoffs. You look at Jacksonville, a good team gets to the AFC Championship game, and then what happens the next year? They're not even close. So I think that the magic starts with Bill at the top because what he does is he just says, okay, look, we had our parade. That's great. Let's move on. Let's focus on a new season, and let's get everyone on the same page. New guys and old guys. It doesn't matter.
This is something we talked about a lot with the Eagles this year, that Malcolm Jenkins, who was one of the few guys on the team who had won a Super Bowl prior to last year with the Eagles, saw the defending champ banners in there and said, take those down. This team is not the defending champs because nobody's going to take that from us. We won that championship, but it's a new team. Coach Mangini, who spent time there, talks about this same theme all the time, and it's the first thing you bring up. How hard is that, do you think, for maybe guys that hadn't been in the Patriot culture for a long time to recognize that? And more importantly, why is that so important to sustain success, to recognizing that the next year doesn't start where the last season ended?
Well, you have to learn fast or you're not going to be around very long, you know. So the standard is always high. And look, I played there 8 years. I won 8 division titles, you know, and every year was in the playoffs. So when you have that standard set, every person that comes into that program, they understand, look, I don't want to be the guy to let anybody down, and I don't want to be the guy that doesn't win a division or get to the Super Bowl. You know, every year is, look, we're going to get to this game, but it's going to take a lot of work, and it starts in the offseason, OTAs, mini camp, training camp. That's when you pay your dues and you build the foundation to have the right to win the division, get in the playoffs, and be so successful every single year.
There's a few things I'm always intrigued when I talk to New England players. I love talking to them. They've been the most successful franchise in the NFL. And to me, I tell people, if you don't like New England, you don't like football played the right way, because they will find a way to win. We know about the divisional titles. We know about the Super Bowl appearances. This, to me, is more personal, because New England does not do a great job in the draft. But what they do is the best job in football as far as guys like you, because you had some attributes that you could have been a good player. Other teams couldn't bring out those attributes. What did Bill Belichick talk to you about and teach you that brought out the best football and brought out consistency in you, and the things that he knew that you can do? He always put you in a position to do those, because those are the things that make Edelman, Wes Welker, you, all the guys that play
James
there.
White.
Yeah, and that's what makes it special to me.
Yeah, no. So first and foremost, you need an opportunity. And there's some places where I didn't fit the scheme. You know, the Patriots, they look and they see, what do we have on this team, on this roster, and let's build the best team we can with what each individual player's best attributes are, and let's boost that and make them the best possible player they can be for our team. And then when you have everyone doing their job at a high level, that's when every single year you're successful. So for me, my first couple of years, I mean, I didn't fit the part. I wasn't big enough, or I wasn't fast enough, but I went to the Patriots, and I knew that I had an opportunity to do something special with a great organization if I ran down on kickoff. I paid my dues. I was on punt team. I had to play special teams.
So it was about making it before even getting good.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I had to make it, and I had to earn the respect of everybody before I even had to. Look, Bill will take a plate. He'll give you a plate, a little scoop of food, see how you handle it, right? If you're good and you eat that up and everything, you digest it, here's a little bit more. And then and then at the end of it, you're on kickoff, punt return, every snap of defense.
Right. You got
maybe they'll sprinkle you in offense on. Right. You know, I wish they did, but they had a pretty good tight end when I was there. So
that's how I parent my kids. With the food thing that sounded so familiar.
It's building the whole organization that way. So you start from the bottom, and look, there's no I'm a starter. I'm this. I'm that. You have to you have to earn that. And I think nowadays, especially, younger guys coming in, they have a little entitlement to where, I'm this, I got drafted high. No. You got to go and pay your dues. You got to earn it in the respect of your guys around you.
The first thing you answered when you sat down here, when I said, how does it work in New England? And you said hard work. But every team comes in knowing that they've got to put the hard work in. Every coach is preaching hard work.
That's what they say.
Right. So tell me what the difference is in New England. How is hard work different in New England than it is in any of the other temes in the NFL?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was 2007, Miami Dolphins 1-15, they thought they worked hard. No. That was a tough year for me because I didn't play on a team that wasn't very good. And then I go to New England, and look, you play New England 2007. That was when they were unbelievable. Yeah. Moss, and they were firing on all cylinders. And I just wanted to watch and see how they operated. And they were like just clockwork. Boom. I don't even think Brady broke a sweat. He was just throwing bombs, touchdown, walk, touchdown. Okay, let's go. It was like a machine, and they didn't break down. So, when I look at other organizations, they do work hard because it's the NFL. Everyone works hard. But it's the preparation in film study and being able to change your game plan week to week. Some teams this is what we are. We're a 4-3. For us, no. We're 5-2. We're a 3-4.
We're seen over 40 years.
Exactly. So you could break something out from 80, whatever, 90s, 95, so he could go back and say, look, this is what we ran. Let's bring it out and see if they're prepared and they did their homework to stop us. Right?
We also have heard, to go along with the hard work, that it is hard and not so fun at times there, and how that is different.
Winning Super Bowls is fun. I don't know how you could say that having success and building something special and a culture is fun.
Absolutely.
And hard work, right? Hard work. Yeah, sometimes there is a grind, but at the end, there's the reward.
So I think this speaks to why you not only, obviously you were successful as a great athlete, the work you put in, but the mentality you have, I think speaks to why it fit you perfectly. Because, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here, because you look at the payoff as, okay, this day in August might suck. And maybe other teams, it's a little bit easier for them, or they give you a few more days off.
But stinks at minicamp, you don't even have your name on your jersey. Like, you see all these teams running around. I got NFL gear. You're out there with your jerseys blank. Everyone looks exactly the same. So there's some other things. Talk about the time, because everyone has the same amount of time. I have reason to believe that New England does other thing in that time that also makes them better. You mentioned a little bit the film study, but you have joint practices with other teams. When the other team is looking at something, New England's doing something different. I know that because I have friends that have played there, and talk about those things that make a difference between New England and the other 31 teams.
So the time that you have after you leave the building, right, you can make a choice. Do you want to get better, or do you want to go home and relax? And I think a lot of guys, they take their work home and they study, and you do the film study. And if you do that together as a group, then everyone's getting better and growing during the season. And that's the special thing, is when you build a team, and a successful team. And, you know, look, when you go through those hard days, the camp days, and you're sweating, you build that bond, that brotherly bond with everyone around you. So when times do get tough, you lean on each other, you work hard, you do extra film study, you do extra walkthroughs, you do everything that you can. And the coaches, I mean, those guys, they're in there at 5 and they're home at 1. Sometimes they sleep there 3 nights a week. I mean, those guys are putting in so much time that as players, you respect that, and you put in more time yourself.
Quickly, Brady's going to play till he's what, 55, 60?
Until
65?
As long as he feels good and he's still slinging it like he is, why not?
Why not?
Right?
All right, Rob, we'll see you a little bit later on the show. Coming up, what did the Lakers' thrilling win over the Celtics last night mean for their playoff hopes? That's next on First Things First. Back here, First Things First. Look who's here. FS1 basketball analyst.
Hey, guys.
It's been too long. Good to see you.
It has been too long.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Hey, thanks for having me
You needed
back.
to wait till the NBA was good and juicy before you
it's
brought
spicy.
you back in.
Jenna,
it's spicy and fun.
It's on.
It's juicy. It's
Was that the wrong word?
but it's in my hand.
That was great, Jenna. I liked it. Jenna was excited.
It is juicy.
All right, maybe it wasn't the greatest
What else?
pantomime.
It's
It's like a good
Sorry about
melon.
that.
See, come on, give her a break.
All right, here we go. Lakers in Boston, Sarah, last night. Let's pick this up. 90 seconds to go. There's Kyrie. Watch him. Drives. Finds Marcus Morris for 3. Celtics go up 6. Next possession, KCP from the corner. Nails the 3. Lakers back within 3. Under a minute to go. LeBron loses the ball. Serves it up to KCP. Back to LeBron. And he nails a 3-pointer. Lakers tied up. LeBron with a triple-double. Boston now up 2. Kyle Kuzma. He hits a 3 with under 20 seconds left. Lakers up 1. On the other side, Kyrie drives past Kuzma, hits the layup over Tyson Chandler. Celtics back up 1. Closing seconds, Brandon Ingram drives. He's blocked by Al Horford. Rajon Rondo, of all players to come up with it, gathers it up. That is a buzzer beater. Nailed it. And the Lakers pull out a great win for them. Final score 129-128 over the Boston Celtics. Here is Rajon Rondo on his mindset as he took the game winner.
Just get it up. Get the arc up. You know, believe it or not, I always dream like this, you know what I mean? But I couldn't picture it being this sweet coming back on, 13 years in, where it all started. Team struggling right now, and I think it's definitely a confidence booster for us.
I mean, it's only right. It's only right that the ball find Rondo's hand some way, somehow, and he's able to drain it. He's one of our captains on our team, one of our catalysts, and he might not talk about it, but I know he's excited as hell to play here in the Garden, and then to make that shot right there, it was big time for our team.
For us to come out and with everything we've been dealing with, not just trade rumors, but freaking injuries and, imbalanced rotations and everything. It was great just to get a win, and, we can build on this potentially.
All right, Sarah, so let's just take a step back. Where do the Lakers stand now? They don't get AD, but with the team they have, they come out with this win, a win like this over Boston. Where do they stand?
In what could have been a crushing day for the Lakers, the way in which it finished, they should feel very good about where they sit. And if we at the beginning of the season had talked about this. There was no expectation that they were going to get Anthony Davis. So I think when you look at the big picture of where they're at, a game and a half out of that 8th seed, I think 3 games out of the 6th seed, you got LeBron James back. And the interesting part of this group, and I know it's been talked about quite a bit, as Kyle Kuzma alluded to, everything they've been dealing with, the trade rumors. Trade deadline's over. This is their team. This is their group.
Yes.
Unless they're active on the buyout market. But other than that, this is the group. So now they know. These young players who had never dealt with that, never dealt with trade rumors and what was going to happen. Where am I going to be? Am I still going to be with the Lakers after this? Now they know I can just go out and play. And I think it's not only about those young players. I think for LeBron James. And we've seen LeBron, deal with so many challenges, so many obstacles throughout the course of his career. That's where he thrives. Now he can lock in and know this is the group I need to leave. And I think that win proved that. And it's really a catalyst, I think, for what they could do now through the rest of the year.
I'm going to pose a question to you because I know with you following the NBA, you talk about the relationships between the younger players, the ones who are emerging trying to be stars, and the guys who are established players, and not necessarily stars, but guys who have traveled around the league. Because what I thought happened yesterday was Lance Stevens and Tyson Chandler, their ability to be able to make plays. Tyson Chandler, the biggest play there by an effort play, tapping the ball. Lance hit some shots to keep them in the game.
He had some passes that were dimes.
Right.
Beautiful.
And I believe these veteran players grabbed these young guys and said, listen, man, this is our team. Like, this is part of the business. Like, we can try to understand what you guys have been through, but we're going to be going at it. And I just thought the leadership, especially there in that second quarter, because, man, this game could have gone bad. This could have ended up just like the Pacers game. What do you think about that Lance Stevens signing this offseason? People thought, oh, that's not good for them. Rondo signing. Rondo hits the game winner, a shot that they need.
Rondo also, just to build on the point, day before yesterday, group text to the team when they didn't have practice scheduled, got 10 of them in the gym together. They ran 2-on-2, 3-on-3, then to 4-on-4 for a lot of the young guys the day before the trade deadline, getting their mind off of everything going on. That's also what you're talking about.
And Rondo, he's shown that throughout his career. I mean, even in the Chicago Bulls and the way things unfolded with that.
He teamed with the young guys.
The young guys were the ones that gravitated towards him, and he helped pull them through it. And so I think that's an excellent point of what those players are able to do. And now I think they can build that chemistry, build the connectivity. I think LeBron James will continue to be the leader that he has been, but I also think what he's dealt with injuries and everything else, now I think just the entire mindset of this group changed. I also like the pickup of Mike Muscala. I think you add a shooter. I think that's another veteran player that, may be able to do a little bit of something. JaVale McGee had a big game, but I think you go down the list, and I think, now they're starting to piece together what they may look like, and that bodes well for a team once they just know this is the group we're sticking.
So, Sarah, the stretch leading up to the trade deadline, I think a lot of people thought if you don't get Anthony Davis, this is not going to be a playoff type year for the Los Angeles Lakers. How disappointing was that they didn't get him? And where do you go now as far as this season is concerned?
I think it's disappointing you didn't get them, because I also think, it obviously a big win for Boston, because that allows them to get back into that market this offseason. And it may show a little bit what New Orleans is thinking of and what you may be able to do in the offseason. But I think at that point, that's not anything that you could focus on now. For these young players, they should have a chip on their shoulders. That many players, that many draft picks were offered for one player who is a generational type player, but the fact that New Orleans wasn't even considering that offer, I like the way Kyle Kuzma came out and played. I like the way some of these guys really showed. Brandon Ingram, what he was able to do. He did an excellent job defensively on Kyrie.
I thought it was a confidence builder for them to give him the ball at the end.
Yeah.
Now, he wasn't able to finish, and it ended up, if Rondo doesn't make that shot, we're probably talking about, man, they were unorganized.
But on the play before, LeBron's open in the corner, begging for the ball. He usually doesn't do this. On 2 passes, Ingram has the ball. LeBron's waving his hands like this. Then it goes to Kuzma. LeBron's clapping at him. Kuzma says, "This is my shot."
Yeah, he knocked it down.
You could see LeBron. LeBron was ready to be like, "You gotta be," but he made the shot, and it was so Kuzma has the confidence there. Ingram, I thought it was a bit of hero ball. Ingram saying, "No, I got this," but the confidence is important. But on the Anthony Davis front, this is, to me, a case study, and I wish I'd studied psychology more in college, in how quickly human beings can change from what they said their expectations were, and then you hear about something potentially better, and now if you don't get what's better, it's a disaster. And I'm guilty of it. I looked back. 3 days ago, I said on this show, the only thing that can salvage the Lakers season is getting Anthony Davis. But 8 days prior, I didn't even think it was possible they would get Anthony Davis, and I thought they'd be fine. Now, this summer, we all knew that this summer was the time. But as soon as that trade request came out, and you saw that option, you're like, oh, they got to do it. They have to do it. Why aren't they doing it? And as soon as it became possible, it almost felt like it was a necessity. But now that we have the benefit of hindsight and knowing, okay, it did not happen, you almost get back to reality of the plan was never acquire Anthony Davis this year. It was acquire a superstar this offseason, either Kawhi via the free agency, Kyrie all of a sudden seems an option, Anthony Davis via trade. So it allows you kind of to get back to reality. But the other part of last night that was important, and you alluded to it, is, man, they could have let go of the rope. They're down 18 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter after getting whooped. And
in the Garden, Belichick, the Patriots on the court.
Absolutely, and showing no interest seemingly in playing defense. You've let the Celtics put up almost 60 points in the first 20 minutes of basketball with Kyrie not doing anything. And what happened was LeBron said, we're not letting go of the rope. They scored 16 points the rest of the half. They were scored or assisted on, all of them by LeBron. He then came out in the third quarter and scored or assisted on 22 points because it was 7 assists in that quarter. And all of a sudden, an 18-point deficit turned into a 7-point lead with 2 minutes left in the third. And at that point, to me, this was going to be a positive for the Lakers no matter what. Even if, I mean, you showed in the highlight, the game-tying three took some luck. LeBron dribbled the ball off his foot.
I thought that was it.
Yeah,
It was a disjointed play.
And they got lucky that he tried to throw it off Marcus Morris's leg. Morris moves out the way, and then they get a 3 out of it. But even if they had lost, it would have been, okay, they're not giving in. But there aren't moral victories with 27 games left in a year when you're not in the playoff picture. So this was the best of all worlds for the Los Angeles Lakers, and that it didn't take 45 from LeBron. Like the last time he was in the Garden in Game 7.
Have to save
he played really well, but Kuz was excellent. Rondo was excellent. Ingram was incredibly inefficient offensively, but Kyrie said after the game how good his defense was. And so there's a lot of positives from that.
LeBron with 28 points and a triple-double in a game that he didn't have to be perfect in. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.